Good morning, journalism students. Happy Friday. Happy first day of May. If you listen carefully, maybe you'll hear the birds singing outside my window. These birds sing all night long, and it's a wonderful reminder of our position in nature. A lot of stuff is happening to us as a human species, a community of people who are dealing with this not just locally or independently, but globally and collectively. That being said, this final update of the week is related to what it is that you're submitting today, which is weekly telecast / pre-production / issue. Reviewing this podcast, called how to be more productive and how to be less busy. We talked about some of the questions that arise after we've read this transcript and heard this audio about reducing the busy aspects of our life and replacing being busy with being productive. There is a distinct difference between the two. We don't need to be productive in our life for a class, for a project, for an assignment. We need to be productive to progress in our career, be it academic or professional, productive in what we do with our families, in how we are with our friends. Being productive is a skill, and skills are mastered through practice. Remember the difference between the growth mindset and the fixed mindset. The fixed mindset maintains that we are as we are and we cannot adapt. We cannot evolve. We cannot learn. I either know something or I don't know it. I'm either good at something, quote unquote, or not good at something, quote unquote. That's the fixed mindset. But nature reminds us that growth is our natural position. We're in spring. We had so much rain in March and early April that if you look outside, it's so green. That's why there's so many birds out there. There's why there's so many bugs out there. I've been bitten a couple times this week by mosquitoes, and it just doesn't feel good. But it's a reminder that we do grow just as nature grows. And so if we're growing, if we're developing, if we're evolving, if we're adding elements to our lives, adding skills, refining skills, making better versions of ourselves, then that means that the skill of productivity, like every other skill, is developed through practice. So when we develop the capacity to become more productive, it has an impact on the rest of our lives and what it is that we do, whether it be in college, whether it be in your career, whether it be at home with your hobby, with your families, with your partners. Productivity is growth. And I think too often, as in the picture here, productivity is misidentified as just being busy with a bunch of stuff to do, when that's not what it is. So I hope you'll listen to this podcast and answer some of the very brief questions. I think there's only 3. And submit them. We got another puzzle for you. See if you like it. and a preview of next week, where we'll listen to this podcast. Where does creativity come from, and why do schools kill it off? Here's a spoiler. Schools, on the whole, don't know what to do with creativity sometimes. And so instead of knowing what to do with it, they impose things. But more on that next week. I'd like to mention this, which I mentioned again on Wednesday with our previous update. Our class meets Wednesdays and Fridays. Mr. Martinez asked if the journalism class can please send in any photos or videos that you may have. Let me blow that up so that you can see it. They're trying to put together something for the senior class. Apart from Iscali and Isabel, the rest of you are all seniors. You went to this school for 4 years. If you have, which you probably do, any photos, any videos that feature the members of the class of 2020, it doesn't have to be something that you did for this class, but it could be. Please let me or Mr. Martinez know. They're trying to honor you all, and they're asking for you to send in some pictures, and not one person has sent anything, and not one person has even asked a question about it. Only one person liked this update, Valentina. So please help us honor you with some photographs. Let's look at this week's shoutouts for who participated. Thank you, Brianna. Thank you, Laura. Thank you, Luz. Thank you, Samantha. Thank you, Iscali. It's nice to see your faces. Yesterday I went to Bravo. All of the teachers were asked and given a date to come in, 2 people per floor, to come in and pick up whatever belongings you had and clean up the room the way we usually clean up our rooms at the very end of the semester, at the end of the school year. And so I went in there, and it was so strange. There was nobody else on my floor that was allowed to go in. There was 2 people from the 4th floor, but I didn't see them. And I only saw 2 other people there. I saw Mr. Mandan and Miss Ewing. And I saw Felipe and Nacho and Dario and Danny, because they were giving out hotspots and laptops or Chromebooks, or if anybody needed one. It was so strange to be there and see the place that has been a home away from home for me for 19 years looks so barren. It was creepy, and I took a couple of pictures of the empty hallways. They've already cleaned out all the lockers, and they put everybody's belongings that were in the lockers, except for the textbooks, in backpacks, and they've got the backpacks lined up in the gym for whenever they start calling in students to pick up their backpacks, or which is their locker contents. It's a difficult sight to see, and everybody there was very positive and trying to stay focused on getting through what we're getting through. We don't know when we're going to open again. And even though people had appointments students, not students, but teachers had appointments to go and clean up their rooms next week. And the week after yesterday, I think that the appointments got canceled because I wanted to come back because I hadn't finished. I took a bunch of staff. I cleaned up the office/production rooms so that way it's a little easier to deal with. And I'm in the room cleaning it all up, trying to make space, thinking that, if only there was a way for you all to come back and make one more episode and make one more issue so that you could give some closure to the year. And we talked all year long about episode 100, and we almost made it. We almost made it to episode 100. We can still do another episode. We can still make another final issue. It just has to come from you. No one can tell your story better than you can tell your story. And you could argue that no one really can tell your story unless it's you. So I urge you to find it in your hearts to fulfill that and tell that story about what it is that happens when a school physically closes but digitally continues. You have the power to do that. In earlier updates over the past several weeks, I have posted different online resources for editing, different online resources for photoshopping imagery if you want to add some elements to it. But realistically, you could set up a Zoom amongst yourselves where each of you gives an update like we do with our anchors and we used to do with green screen or with live shots. It only takes the desire to have your stories told and the decision to be a bit more productive when it comes to our class. Only 2 people have submitted anything since we went on this hiatus from school. The most productive class that puts together an episode and an issue every week. Well, I know you can still do it. If you have any questions, as usual, please ask. And please hit like so that I know you saw this update. Please stay safe, please stay healthy, and please stay creative. And for this week, also stay productive. All right, miss you all. Take care. Ciao.